How's it going, guys? This is my toolbox tour slash beginner's guide. Start off with the toolbox. It's obviously a Craftsman. I don't remember the model, but it's a really nice box. It's got the built-in chargers. My box is plugged in. Put this light up here. It's detachable, just magnetic, but it's nice to have a little workspace. Top and bottom is probably about $1,100, I think, which isn't bad. I mean, Snap-on boxes and Matco boxes and Mac and all of them are going to be way more expensive. It's probably a beginner's guide, so I would definitely recommend something like this. I've never tried the US General or the whatever the Harbor Freight ones are. This is a pretty good box for the money. The charging thing is nice, and it holds everything you need, especially as a beginner. I've also got my small move around, throw in the back of a truck or something that has basics. Then I'll make a little bag up with stuff out of here if I'm really going to go work on something somewhere else. But for the most part, it just stays here. It's pretty big, unless it's at work, which it's not at the moment. So I'll get started. Start with the top. The light is nice for working. I've got the magnetic trays and stuff, some tape, my magazine or calendar that got given to me. It's not 2017. Some funnels, and then rags. And this was a white t-shirt that I cut up because I don't fit into it anymore, and works good for shop rags, which I recommend. If you have old t-shirts, cut them up and you save a lot of money on shop rags that way. Mine get thrown all over the fucking place and they're all disgusting, and sometimes I like to just grab, I got some fresh ones up there too for cleaning, carburetors or something. You don't want to get a lot of dirt on it. So we'll start from the top right. It's my miscellaneous. It's got just a bunch of random stuff. I mean, torque check and fucking sandpaper and sanding blocks, and started off as a airplane mechanic's helper and worked my way to a mechanic, and this was really useful, and still, even I guess not so much automotive, but it really had a lot of good information, and it's a $20 book and saves you a lot. I had pads of paper and notepads and shit, and when I worked at the airport I had a lot of paperwork and stuff in here because there's a lot of service bulletins and shit you had to deal with, and we all keep copies of them for work. Razor blades, or there were razor blades, more razor blades, Advil. This stuff is like fuel lube, and it's super sticky. You can put it on, like a nut in a bad place. You can stick it to your finger or a wrench or something and really get it in a hard to reach place. It works really well. It's super fucking sticky, but I like that. Something that I was taught and works pretty good. Over here, got vice grips. Nothing special to them. Vice grip brand. They were like a set, $100 or something. Really good deal. They come in handy. All of them do. I really like vice grips. Here's my punches and pry bars. And these are pretty cheap set, but never had a problem with them ever. I mean, they'll bow like a motherfucker, but never broke. So that's good. And here's my inspection stuff, and I got them all labeled just because I just recently organized it all and put some more stuff in here that I had when I was working at the shop. I didn't have as much of stuff, so I put all the labels. I'll probably pull them off eventually, but right now I'm still learning which drawer is everything, and it's nice when I'm coming in and out of here. And plus, I don't know, I like to play with label makers, I guess. And here's my inspection stuff. It's got, flashlights and, knives, razor knives, some mirrors, magnets, all that shit. Nice calipers, then the zip ties and tape measures and stuff, and feeler gauges and ring gaps and a bunch of stuff. It's kind of a smaller drawer. And come down here is my screwdriver set. I've got my really nice Matco set, and then I've got like bits and other random stuff in here, and bits, and these speed outs are really nice for screws. As an airplane mechanic, we dealt with a lot of like rounded out screws and fucked up screws, and these, like, even snap screws or bolts or whatever, these work really good on a kind of smaller scale. There's a big one in there, but I mean, they work good. I have a ratcheting screwdriver in here normally, and I have no clue where it is. Move some stuff out to do some work, so. But yeah, screwdrivers. And I wouldn't recommend getting, as a beginner, getting Matco brand screwdrivers or like expensive brand. They're really expensive, and I mean, let's be real here. They're fucking screwdrivers. Like, it's a flathead, and those are flatheads, and like, there's nothing too special about them. I don't think you could find a cheap enough brand that you're gonna snap. And if you do, then I recommend these. But I really would go for a cheaper set for starters, especially depending on how much you use them. I use those a lot, but they're expensive for a fucking set of screwdrivers. And then sheet metal stuff. One thing I would recommend for if you're doing sheet metal work or your files, it's worth your money to buy the nice files. They stay sharper longer, they cut better, they're much better. This is another Matco set. They're pretty good. Then I've got Cleco pliers and hole punches and scribes and stuff, and then old files that I've gotten over the years or need to clean them and stuff, and then pop rivets. Don't really deal with these in automotive, or probably any of this really in automotive, maybe in body work, but it worked good where I was at. We made a lot of stuff. Then electrical, I don't have a lot of electrical stuff because I didn't do a lot of electrical work, but I've got your basic stripper crimpers. They work good enough. A couple of testers, some wire nuts, a little extra wire. I've been meaning to get some of the nice strippers and the nice crimpers to get for here. They're just haven't got around to it yet. And then the Allen wrenches, and I've got multiple sets. I recommend personally, maybe not Matco brand, but buying these sets where they're all labeled. So I've got these multiple different of these bags, and just one for speed, and two, like, it drives me crazy having to pick through, you know, a whole bag of these and trying to find the right size, and they aren't labeled very well. These I would definitely recommend, especially if you're like a flat rate mechanic or something where you need to get in here and get a tool fast. I recommend sets like that. I don't have a metric set like this because where I worked when I first started as a mechanic, you never saw a metric bolt anywhere ever. It was all standard. So my box in here is pretty heavily set towards standard stuff. I'm still working on getting more metric stuff, especially going into the automotive industry. Down here, I've got metric sockets and then my good ratchets, which another thing, I would recommend getting a good ratchet if you're going to use it every day. I've gone through multiple different Craftsman and weird brands, and they just never work as good as these are Matco, but Matco, Snap-on, Mac, all the good brands, I would recommend that. But the socket sets, I don't really see. I mean, some people swear that some socket sets won't grab them as well, and I'm sure like Walmart brand, these are Matco, yeah, Matco, but I would, these are a little low, but I would recommend, you know, Harbor Freight or better, probably, with your sockets. And then we have metric wrenches, which is super, super empty drawer. I've been meaning to get a full set. I've been losing wrenches left and right. And in fact, these are really cheap brand wrenches, and I've probably snapped 4 or 5 of these, like 12s and 14s, just working on stuff, on cars and boats and jet skis, all the other random shit I work on. And I would definitely recommend getting, you know, Craftsman brand or better wrenches for working on stuff as a beginner. Then move over to standard sockets a little bit more, and these are the shittier ratchets, and some I've just thrown away or given away or have shoved in different sets. I have a bunch of them, and the Matco ones are the way to go. And down here, standard wrenches. I've got a lot more of these. These mini wrench sets are nice, pretty like ignition set wrenches. And a stubby set, another small wrench set, and then I have my ratcheting wrenches, Matco brand. Those are nice. Those are another one, like Gear Wrench makes pretty good ones, but if you're gonna get some of these ratcheting wrenches, I would probably go with with a nicer brand. And also, I didn't get them, but I would go with the ones with the clip. I've fucking loosened bolts and got this wrench stuck multiple times already, and it's just a pain in the ass. Then Craftsman brand wrench set, it works fine. I've never had a problem with it. I've used probably every single one of these wrenches and put a lot of ass on all of them, and I've never had a problem. This is a small, like, angled wrench set. It's pretty cheap. I don't remember what brand, but that I do recommend, because the snap-on version of that is like 5 times as much. Move on down to hammers. Nothing special. Small C-clamp, a couple ball peen hammers, weighted dead blows. It's a really cheap rubber mallet. It got the job done for what I needed it, but it's whatever. The Matco brand dead blows are nice, but I wouldn't recommend spending the type of money on them, especially in the beginning, just because, you know, unless you're using dead blows every day, and still then, they're hammers, you know, you can't really, like, I know people who swear by the snap-on ones with the screw-on heads. I never really liked those too much. I would go for something cheaper for starters, and then, you know, eventually get your, you know, buy a nice set one day for your birthday or something. But I would recommend going with cheaper. And then pliers, a bunch of normal pliers. These are actually Stanley brand. I got them from Walmart. I've never had a problem with them. They work great. It's a little 4-pack with a pair of dikes, needle noses, channel locks, and slip pliers. I would recommend, these look hammered now, but a nicer set of fucking snap ring pliers. These are fine, they're just not together. And then these safety wire pliers I got from a dirt bike shop, not like an aviation store. So they were like $20. I never had a problem with them. They worked really good. They weren't, some of them are reversible, where you click them and you can twist them either way. These ones worked fine for what I was doing, and I safety wired stuff every day, all the time. So definitely, those are worth their weight in gold if you have safety wire. Shitty hog ring pliers, scissors, and a couple other stuff. I mean, hemostats were nice. Little roach clips for holding stuff, and little washers and stuff, having to shove stuff in there. Really small scale stuff. Because of the airport, let me. And then this is a tiny plier set. They work nice. These are actually in my fishing gear, which really works good for that. But these, like pulling little rivet heads and just other little stuff, like it worked nice. It was like a $15 set. So I recommend it if you have small work like that. I did a lot. They probably won't come in handy as much in automotive, but they work good. Let's go down. These are my air tools and power tools. I've kind of gotten away from shop air. I used to use it a lot, and I don't have a good air compressor at my house, so I don't use them as much. But if you're working in a shop, you know, shop air is nice. These little die grinders are nice for grinding and cutting and other stuff. Obviously, you want the air nozzle for cleaning stuff. I got the Matco set, and I've probably only ever used this one attachment. I've never needed any of those, but they do come in handy. I have the small 12-volt Milwaukee set, which they work good for small stuff. It's like, I think 900 inch-pounds of torque or something, which isn't crazy at all. I mean, I guess probably around whatever. But I would recommend, I want to get the 20-volt, not Milwaukee, but the DeWalt Big Impact. They're good for popping off like tires and stuff like that. I know a lot of people have them. They've never had a problem with them. That's good for small stuff, though. But, you know, I'm a fan of not using that to tighten stuff down with broken bolts like that. It's no good. And then down here, in my safety drawer, I have, you know, basic stuff. Most automotive shops, you won't need this kind of stuff. We did, like, fiberglass and all this other kind of work, so I acquired a lot of this stuff. The dust masks are kind of nice. Obviously, you need your safety glasses. I have more than I could need. But then I have a couple of these respirators for doing fiberglass stuff. Rubber gloves are worth their weight in gold, especially if you're trying to keep your hands kind of clean. And then work gloves, leather gloves, some chemical gloves, because we dealt with some heavy-duty paint stripper and stuff. That was nice to have those. They'll burn through those normal, regular rubber gloves. These are the really thin ones. These are like hospital gloves. And down here, my miscellaneous large, which is really just bags. There's a really shitty tap and die set. I don't recommend. If you do any tap and die stuff, I'd recommend spending the money, because you could really fuck up some threads. I've never really had good luck with that set. They've always just kind of been shitty. I think they're shitty cut taps, and they're just not quality. They will fuck stuff up. And then, last but not least, I have the aerosol liquid applicant drawer. which really is just, we had a lot of safety wire, and that stuff comes in handy too for hanging stuff and tying stuff up. And I know dirt bike guys like to safety wire their hand grips on. I've had multiple dirt bikes and never did it, but that could be used for that. I actually got these from my shop. But electrical tape, this I'll never use ever again. PB blaster and stuff is nice. I have way too much of it, but you know, just the normal stuff. Engine cleaner, degreaser, carbon choke cleaner. This stuff, DC4, used for putting on O-rings and stuff for like oil or whatever wouldn't be applicable. Like I use them for fuel cap O-rings a lot, just to lube up the O-ring before you put it on. So you always want to do that. And then just your random RTV and fucking other random stuff. This is like a weather stripping thing that is just glue. We called it Gorilla Snot. You glue shit down with it. Yeah, oh, and I missed one drawer. And this is the nut drivers and picks and torques. These weren't marked very well, so I marked them better. And then my pick set and all my nut driver set. I don't have metric ones yet. And really just sort of smaller basic stuff. There was a tap in there, and then just really small nut driver and other little, these are like sewing awls. But I do recommend, the pick set's nice, but for automotive a bigger pick set would be nice. And I lost a pick, damn it. But this is for taking valve stems out of tires. These are really nice. They're worth their weight in gold. They're $5 fucking. And then this is for a tap that just fits good in this drawer. But yeah, Torx bits I don't use too much of. I have a lot of them. So that's my box. Yeah, if you guys like, and any other, you know, things that you add or you think I should get, or other quintessential things for the young guys just starting out, all I can say really is don't get a snap-on box right away. And if your shop's anything like the shop I started at, and you had, you know, your Snap-on or Matco or whatever guy come in every Friday or Monday or whatever, don't get on the truck. At least for me, because if I got on that truck, there was probably at least one or two things that I wanted to buy. And don't let yourself get in debt. I got laid off of this first mechanic shop I was working at, and I was paying him back still for probably, you know, I was out of money because I wasn't working, and I was paying him back for months afterwards, you know, and he was constantly calling, and he was a cool dude, but I just couldn't pay him. And, you know, you don't want to be in debt like that. If you buy something, pay it outright, or pay half now and half after you get paid or whatever, you know. I was making $600 a week or $600 every 2 weeks, and I was owing him fucking $500 every 2 weeks, you know. Like, it ain't worth it. Go for Craftsman brands, good. Harbor Freight, they're Pittsburgh or whatever, the wrenches work really good, and they're cheap. So if you have to grind on a wrench, or you have to you know, do anything where you might have to like kind of fuck with the integrity of the tool for a job, then you can always just go buy a new cheap set for $30 and then replace that wrench, and then you got extras, you know. Craftsman brands the same way, they're pretty cheap. The box, I definitely recommend a Craftsman box. This is my second or third Craftsman box, because I've been getting bigger and bigger, and I really like this one. In fact, if I ever need more storage, I plan on buying a second one of these, and then just butting it up right next against it, and just having two of these same boxes, or putting it I don't have room in here, but this works great. You can obviously always organize it different to fit more stuff. As you can see, I have tools that really don't have a lot of stuff in them, or drawers I mean, so like you could fit a lot more tools in here, all your metric standard. And another thing is where I fucked up, where I want to warn you guys, is starting off and buying one size specific, like buying just standard specific tools really heavy and skimping on the metric. It was great for where I was working, but if you don't plan on working, you know, in the same shop for tens of years or whatever, or for a long time, then I would always, because I would go in there and ask the Matco guy for, like, have them special order just standard sets of stuff, you know, and never, they all come in metric and standard, and I would either buy both or buy a standard set and a metric set, and just trying to level it out. If you think you're just going to be using standard, you know, I just had standard in this box for the longest time. But then when I set this up, I put the metric in, so you can always leave the metric at your house working on cars and stuff. Everything nowadays, really, other than I guess airplanes, are going to be standard or metric. So I would almost go heavy on the metric and less on the standard, just because I barely even pull out of that drawer anymore. Like if I come in here to do something or I need a tool, like I go instantly to the metric, which was complete opposite from where I worked. But yeah, so be smart, save money, and don't buy Snap-on. Like they're good, and one day, you know, one day I would like to have a Snap-on box fitted with all Snap-on tools. But for that kind of money, it's not even worth it, in my book. And talking to everyone I've ever talked to says the same thing. Stay off the Snap-on truck. Stay off the Matco truck. They're great tools, but especially starting off, get yourself, go on eBay, go online, go on Amazon. Go get yourself something cheaper, you know. Start with the cheaper wrench sets. And if you find that you really need the Snap-on, which you won't because the other ones will work fine, then get them. But that's my message for you guys today. Stay off the tool trucks and stay saving money.